We have water. Water lubricates your folds immediately when you drink it, or does drinking water only work if you drink a ton of it 24 hours before the concert, lesson, whatever? In general, keep your body hydrated, okay? Drinking that 8 to 10 glasses of water a day is a good way to kind of start. Always having a water bottle with you at school or wherever you are, running errands, wherever you are, just constantly reminding yourself to drink water, okay? Our body does take time to hydrate the muscles and to take that water and do something with it. So it doesn't take 24 hours, but it does take time, and everybody's different. So again, as long as you're keeping hydrated, then you should be fine. But it doesn't lubricate your vocal folds immediately when you drink it. Why?
Because it goes down your esophagus.
Right, you would drown. You would have water in your lungs. That's not good. Okay, oil of oregano, which claims to aid respiratory and sinus conditions. Ginseng, like cold FX or immune system boosters. Different kinds of ginseng. There are a whole bunch of different kinds. I didn't realize this until the other night. They claim to do different things, from calming and energizing your body, curing respiration and circulation problems, reversing negative stress, or helping you sleep better, which is great. However, these claims are all made by the manufacturers of the products, and I could not find scientific fact other than when the Europeans arrived in Canada, we knew that the natives were using it for this purpose. That's about as scientific as these things get right now. So they haven't been proven one way or the other, but I find, and I think Amanda agrees with me, that a lot of times these things are mental also. If you think something will work, it will. It's that mind over matter thing, right? And so if you think that cold FX works, and you take it and it works, then it could be.
That's not an opinion. That's proven fact.
Yes, that's been proven.
The placebo effect is very effective. If you believe it, largely it'll work.
Mm-hmm. So these drugs they could be hard to prove, right? One way or the other, because if someone taking it thinks that it works, and it does work, how do you prove that it's the drug versus them, right?
And also these natural remedies don't have to undergo double-blind studies like they have to do for pharmaceuticals. So a lot of things are unproven because they just haven't done those studies. So they can't erase the placebo effect. But if it works for you,
and if it works for somebody and they swear by it, then you can say, great, good for you.
yeah,
go for it.
If it helps you.
If it helps you.
And this question, this myth was the whole reason I wanted to do this whole thing to begin with, because I once heard that drinking water while singing actually dehydrates you because it causes your body to think that outside hydration is coming, and so it stops producing saliva. False. I busted it. It's done. My years and years and years of wondering if this was true. Not true.
You can move on.
Dehydration actually allows for dehydration actually slows saliva production, which makes total sense. If you don't have the water in your body to produce saliva, your body can't do it. And saliva is not a hydrator for the body. It aids in digestive stuff, okay, as well as oral hygiene. So drinking water while you sing doesn't dehydrate you at all.
I didn't know that. Saliva is not a hydrator for the body.
No.
That's cool.
No. It's mostly an oral thing to wash all that gross bacteria out of your mouth and swallow it and digest
it. starts the digestive process already in your mouth when you're chewing.
Yeah.
So you're breaking down. That's why you're supposed to chew your food a lot, because the first stage of breaking down, and that also will create more alkalinity, because that's the first place where you alkalize your food is in your mouth.
Now on that, I did hear, and I wasn't able to bust this myth, when in my research, I found out that drinking water, or I heard that drinking water while you eat will dilute the saliva.
True.
And do you know that this is true?
Yes.
Okay, and so you should not drink water while you eat because it actually affects your digestive process.
Really?
It dilutes the saliva and it neutralizes the enzymes in the saliva that are breaking down the food. So
Drink
you
wine
can,
instead.
well, if you drink a lot of water while you eat, you're actually disturbing the digestive process, and you can make yourself more acidic.
So they said drink water a half an hour before you eat and an hour after you eat, but do not drink for that hour and a half in between. That's what I read. So, thank you. Myth busted!
Yeah, that's
All right, next one. Does intestinal gas or singing have an effect on the other? Okay, so intestinal gas, we all know what that is. And singing, are they linked anyway? This has not been proved scientifically, but we do know scientifically that stress can cause extra internal gas production. When we feel stress and anxiety, we swallow more air, whether we know we're doing it or not. We swallow more air. And emotional stress has been linked to an increase in hydrochloric acid, which is your stomach acid, which can cause the gas to build up in your intestine. So we could say, and since emotions and stress and anxiety can all be linked to performance, we all know that, we could say that this myth is true, that intestinal gas and singing do have an effect on each other. Plausible. Do you want me to go into the women hormone things? Yes. Okay, a little bit of women hormones for you. Women have more phlegm production closer to their cycle, which is true. We have more phlegm, more mucus in our bodies because the hormonal changes in our bodies trigger more saliva and mucus productions. And a lot of pregnant women, I read 9 out of 10, say that they experience more saliva and mucus in their body while they're pregnant, which leads into our next one, our next
Pretty much
myth.
anything gross happens when you're pregnant.
Yes.
You name it, check it off.
Advocates for children here.
Just getting started.
Which leads us into our next question, which is a very, very new topic of debate in the voice world, that the pill is bad for your voice. And this is something, like I said, they're just starting to look into. But because we know that the pill is a hormone, and we're taking hormones into our body that make our body think we are pregnant, that's what the pill does, then it is safe to say that we are producing extra saliva and mucus without knowing it, obviously. Our body is doing this because it thinks we are pregnant.
But there haven't been many
Plausible.
studies on this yet. Like there's
No.
still a
Yes,
lot
this
of
is very, very,
controversy
very,
about
very,
this.
very new stuff.
And
This
also the
hormone
levels
stuff.
of hormone in the pill are very, very low in comparison to, like,
To
it's just,
pregnancy.
they dose the hormones so it's just enough.
Yeah.
Because the early versions of the pill, the hormone levels were very, very high. And they began to adjust them downwards so that we're sort of just at the brink of, which is why it's more critical now when
Yeah.
women miss a pill. Didn't used to be as much of a problem, but really that it's just at the very basic level so that your body, so that you're not ovulating. But
So, very, very, very new stuff. I'm sure that more will come out of this, but it's really just been in the last year or two that they've started to look into hormones and how they affect your body.
But also some women sing great when they're pregnant.
Yes, that is true.
So,
Next one, looking up or back with your larynx is bad, or with your neck, sorry, is bad for your larynx. This happens to do with strengthening your neck muscles. Okay, so if your neck muscles are strong and flexible, looking up and back is safe. But if they are not strong and cannot support your head properly, then doing that could be dangerous, right? It's the same way as if you were a runner, right? If you're running wrong and you're using your muscles wrong, you could hurt yourself, right? So that was busted. It depends on the person, again, and it depends on your own strength. Here's another one that you guys asked. Are there certain physical exercises or workouts that are bad for your voice? Specifically, do you know of any specifics? I'm going to
well,
get
a
into
lot of
sit-ups.
times depends.
Yes, again, it depends. Because another myth that I've heard is sit-ups are bad for singers / sit-ups are good for singers. Again, strong abdominal muscles are good because they help us to get the energized breath out. But sit-ups create harder muscles when we do them, okay? So, and then your muscles can't relax. When something is hard, when we get that six-pack, it's because we can't relax those muscles anymore, okay? So unless you are stretching the muscles to strengthen them as opposed to doing the same thing over and over to tighten them, then it depends. It depends completely on the exercise and how you do it. A lot of people, when they do sit-ups too, the strength comes from the neck when they sit up, which is totally bad for singers, obviously. Sit-ups are for
Do
abdominal
we have
muscles.
factual evidence that strong abdominal muscles don't allow for flexibility in the breathing muscles?
Tight muscles.
Six-pack.
Do we have evidence about that?
Tight, yes. Tight
do?
abs. Yeah. Where did I find it? Oh, this isn't on my source page. I have a source page. Yeah. But tight muscles, because they can't release, and so they can't release. And that's the argument.
However, if you had strong abdominal muscles, but you are able to have flexibility
Right.
in
Yes.
the solar plexus
So
area.
strength
So-
is good, but just
Strength
not.
is good,
And
tight is not.
And you
Yeah.
might very well have a six-pack, but be able to be very supple here, so
Yes.
it's just,
Yeah.
it depends.
Yeah.
It depends.
It depends.
And weightlifting has gotten a bad rap. But I generally say to my students who do weights, just make sure that you're breathing. And that the airflow is always consistent, that you're not holding your air, because sometimes, especially the guys, if they're trying to bench press a lot and then you get the not good.
Next one, glottal attacks are bad for your voice. Everyone has heard of a glottal attack before? Yes? Glottal attack is when our vocal cords start like that. That's glottal attack. It's an attack versus an onset, okay? Glottal attacks, doing that over and over again, you are going to hurt your voice because you're doing this over and over and over again. If the glottal onset is clear, I just used one right there, glottal onset, right? There's a space, but you can hear the vocal cords opening healthily, right? We use onsets all the time when we speak, especially in English and German. So it's fine. Our bodies are meant to do it, but glottal attacks, you need to be aware that you are doing that. And there's a big difference between the two. Yeah? Busted. Yes.
I just have a question that you sang that English and German.
Mhm.
I just kind of randomly skipped. Are there certain languages that are bad for your voice? No.
I would say that no language is bad for your voice. It's just how you speak. Right? Am I right in that?
Well, yeah, I mean, language is meant to be efficient,
Yeah.
designed to be efficient because we want to communicate with each other. So efficiency is in place, but yeah, I mean, if there's any
It goes
problems-
back to your body is built to do it as long as you do it properly and healthily.
You
right?
will notice that there are some languages that are more conducive to singing because they're a bit more sing-songy,
Mhm.
which is why we often
Italian?
start with Italian as the first language with classical singing, because it's a lot of vowels and very big open vowels. Whereas you get a language like German or English, which has a lot of
A lot of
onsets
consonants and
a lot of
onsets.
consonants, and the vowels are quite shallow, so it's not quite as conducive to singing, but that doesn't mean that you can't sing quite beautifully in those languages. It's just some are more conducive to singing than others.
Okay. Drinking cold water can shock your vocal cords. This is one I've heard many, many, many a time. It doesn't touch your cords. You would drown, okay? But scientific arguments on both sides have been made that drinking cold water can shock your body and the muscles in your body and the muscles involved with digestion, which include the muscles in your throat and neck that run very close to your vocal cords. Okay? So while I cannot bust this one because there's no scientific proof on how it affects your voice, it could. Yes.
Would that go for like any cold drink?
Yes, any cold drink.